This gentleman right here is Pat Garofalo, president of the Minnesota Grocers Association. Right on time, Pat, because we definitely wanted to check back in with you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great. Thanks for being with us and carving out some time here. You were probably the first person we talked to when President Trump announced that he was going to do some of these tariffs. And at the time, we were talking about Mexico, Canada, and China. And a lot of things have happened since we last talked to you. Remind us kind of how you felt about it then, and how are you feeling now?
Well, thanks again for having me on, Amy. And you know, the exposure that Minnesota has to foreign trade is a lot more severe, a lot more extreme than most other states. So particularly here in Minnesota, our economy is closely integrated with the Canadian economy, both in terms of energy, but also agriculture. And then, like the rest of the United States, especially this time of the year, we import a lot of food, fruits, vegetables from Mexico. So any sort of disruption in the known price of things, tariffs, increase in costs, they're going to have a more concentrated impact on Minnesota's economy than they would from other states. That being said, the most recent announcements by President Trump haven't really pertained to Canada and Mexico. The trade agreement we have in there, apparently, and I have to emphasize this enough, Amy, like this changes on a per minute basis. Yep. So anything I say could absolutely expire very quickly. Yep. But that's really not the exposure that we have right now. More of it's going to be on the consumption side from worldwide sourcing across the country and or across the planet. And as you've seen reflected in the stock market on Thursday and Friday, this has brought a lot of uncertainty into the forecast for the economy in terms of its impact on pricing, in terms of its impact on the economy. Exceptionally disruptive. And it's been said the stock market doesn't like what the stock market doesn't know. And so Thursday and Friday were particularly punishing in stock markets. But today, it started off lower, but as we're speaking, I'm looking over at my monitor here, both the S&P 500 and NASDAQ are actually up a little bit. The Dow Jones is still down. So this all boils down to what the future holds for us. It could be good, it could be bad, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Yeah. Can I drill down just a little bit more with you as we talk about things, that Americans consume? I mean, obviously, you're president of the Minnesota Grocers Association. Groceries high on the list of concerns, of prices for folks. So from what you've seen in the last, month and a half or so since the onset of these tariffs, what have we actually seen as far as price increases go?
So on the food side of things have actually been improving as the situation with the bird flu has reduced. We've seen egg prices stabilize and go down quite a bit. The initial turning on and turning off of some tariffs have had a minimal impact. There is higher energy costs that are getting built into the supply chain, but that's been more of a macro economy issue versus food. But in the area of food so far, things have been pretty stable, and in some cases the prices are declining. Now, as they say in all the disclosures of all the ads, it's important to note past performance is not indicative of future performance. And there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, and it all boils down around this one thing, and that is that when President Trump is talking about blowing up the international order of supply chains and resourcing things to the United States, is he serious about that? Or is he doing this as a means to having leverage at the negotiating table in terms of getting better access to foreign markets for American manufacturers, on reducing barriers that do exist in other countries? And as a negotiation strategy, I have to say he's pretty effective at it right now, because people don't know whether to believe him or not. And that's a pretty good thing to have at the table when you're dealing with the Chinas of the world and other countries. But I would say that if he's serious, if he really does believe that we need to have non-essential items manufactured in the United States, we're not talking about military hardware or pharmaceuticals or computer chips. I think there's an agreement that we need to have those more domestically sourced. But if he's talking about all these other things and making the United States more isolated and more domestic focused, There are multinational corporations whose business models are predicated on world trade, and this will be exceptionally disruptive. And I think we'll have a better idea of what the president really means in about 30 days. But for now, it's put a lot of uncertainty into investors, and rightfully so.
Yeah, and as sort of the U.S. is playing this game of chicken, I guess, with these other countries. I mean, couldn't China sniff that out and say, we know you don't have the infrastructure to do what you want to do, to make these things in America, so we're just going to continue to hold the line here. I mean, they can find their intel is probably very good here, so they can probably find that stuff out, right?
Well, Amy, here's what I would say. If I was a betting man, and I am a betting man,
we know your stance on legalized betting here in Minnesota, by the way. Yes. Go ahead.
Just had to find a way to get that into the conversation. No, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And on one hand, if you look at what President Trump is proposing, the idea that we're going to build out all this infrastructure and have these things domestically produced, it's going to dramatically increase the cost of goods and services in the United States of America. It's going to limit opportunity. A trade war hurts everybody. So on one hand, you say, listen, he has to be posturing. This is just part of a overall strategy to negotiate a better deal. On the other hand, if you look at what President Trump has said, and this goes back to the 80s, he has been very consistent in his views that he believes that we're getting ripped off, that we have sent too much of our manufacturing overseas, that in order to be prosperous, we can't just be a consumption-based economy, that we have to be manufacturing more, and the only way to do that is to reset the global order of financial transactions. And I'm not, in terms of predictability about which way he's going to go, I have to be honest, I don't know. I can tell you that there's been a lot of damage over the last couple of weeks with regards to the impacts of these tariffs domestically and personally on my 401k. But what it means going forward, this is a massive restructuring and reordering of things. A more targeted, limited approach would have much more consensus. During COVID, we learned that the pharmaceuticals that that we're dependent on for healthcare, a lot of them were foreign sourced. That needs to be domestically sourced, just like we do with our military stuff. Now, where a TV's made, I don't really care about that, Amy. Yeah. And so the more general strategy the president is offering right now, I think if it was more targeted and strategic, would have much less pain and a lot more domestic support. But right now it's sort of a bull in the china shop, and we're all along for the ride. So I think we'll know more in a month, but for right now, just a lot of uncertainty, and that uncertainty is creating disruptions in the real economy.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you just one more quick question as we wrap up here, taking kind of back to putting your Grocers Association hat back on as we talk about groceries and the price of food. You're saying that right now things are stable, these grocery prices are stable, in some cases they're improving. How long is that leash? What should we be looking for here? Are we talking weeks, months that we can continue to see this? What's going to be the thing as you look into your crystal ball that you don't have that could thwart that?
Well, again, yeah, it's particularly around egg pricing. It's been really good news. Mm-hmm. The thing to watch, rather than a more global perspective when it comes to food prices, is to see the interactions between the United States and Mexico, the United States and Canada, particularly this time of year. This is still a growing season in Mexico, so we're very dependent on fruit and vegetable imports from there. And I would just keep an eye on that. The more stable that relationship is with Mexico and Canada in terms of having goods and services that are going through the existing trade agreement, then the better off we're going to be in terms of food prices. But if that breaks down and there's new tariffs and new surcharges put on, these are not your local grocers who are going to be making more money off it. This is just going to make everything more expensive. And ultimately, your local independent grocers are going to be in the same situation that you are as a consumer. So that's going to be the thing to watch, is the relationship with Mexico, the relationship with Canada. That's going to have the biggest impact on any potential stabilization of prices or increases in prices.
Okay. Thanks for helping us kind of break this down a little bit more. It helps to talk through these things, I think, because there's so many headlines flying around and they all seem to end with this is not good for your dollar. This is not good for your wallet.
There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation floating around, but I'm sure that everything's going to be okay, especially since AC/DC is going to be in concert in the Twin Cities this Thursday. Everything's going to work out just fine.
So good, so good. Do you have good seats? Are you going to be down on the floor, or?
Oh, I got great seats in the lower deck. A friend of mine stayed online all day camping out for him, but it sounds like it's going to be a sold out show with lots of guys like me, men and women in their 40s and 50s on a weekday who are going to try to think of how we're going to get out of bed in the morning to show up for work on Friday. But it's going to be cool to see them. This might be the last tour for them. They haven't gone on tour. They didn't go on tour in the U.S. last year, and they're kicking off their tour, their Power Up tour.
Okay.
Right at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis on Thursday.
That's when to get them.
Sold out though.
At the beginning.
No seats available. Sold out.
That's fantastic. I hope you have a great time. That is going to be a fantastic concert for sure. Thanks again for clearing things up for us a little bit here. Former Republican Representative Pat Garofalo in the House for many, many years, and now president of the Minnesota Grocers Association. So we kind of get twofers with you, which we always appreciate. So thanks for your time on short notice.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, take care. See you soon.